A small workshop makes two products. Machines, materials and hours are all limited. The owner wants one number, the mix that earns the most money. Now a rival walks in. He does not want the products. He wants to buy the workshop's capacity outright, and he wants to pay as little as he can get away with. Two different questions. Different unknowns. Different units even. And yet, when you work them both out, the same number falls out. Not close. Identical. That is not a coincidence. It is the deepest structural fact in linear programming, and once you see it, you get bounds, proofs of optimality, and the true value of every resource, all for free. Here is the workshop, written as algebra. Product 1 earns 3 per unit, product 2 earns 5. Those are the numbers we want to push as high as possible. Underneath sit 3 limits. 4 units of the first resource, 12 of the second, 18 of the third. Each product eats into them at its own rate. Two products means we can draw this. Horizontal axis, how much of the first, vertical axis, how much of the second. Every limit becomes a line, and everything the workshop can actually do is trapped inside this shaded patch. Every point in there is a real production plan. Now watch the profit itself. Lines of equal profit all have the same slant. Sliding one outwards means earning more, so we push it as far as the patch allows. It stops at a corner. 2 units of the first product, 6 of the second, and a profit of 36. That is the maker's answer, and it is the last time we will need the picture. Back to the rival. To buy the workshop, he must name a price per unit for each of the 3 resources. Call those prices Y1, Y2 and Y3. The owner will only sell if the offer beats making things himself. So for every product, the resources it would have eaten must be worth at least the profit he gives up. Product 1 uses 1 unit of the first resource and 3 of the third and earns 3. So its price tag must reach 3. Product 2 uses 2 units each of the second and third and earns 5, so those must reach 5. Those are the buyer's constraints. His goal is the opposite of the maker's: pay as little as possible for the 4, 12 and 18 units on the table. Line the two up side by side, and something jumps out. The maker's profits became the buyer's requirements. The maker's supplies became the buyer's costs. Maximize flipped to minimize, and every less than turned into a greater than. Structurally, there is just one operation here. The table of coefficients gets tipped on its side. Rows become columns. 3 constraints turn into 3 prices. 2 products turn into 2 requirements. The original problem is called the primal. Its mirror is called the dual. And if you dualize the dual, you land back exactly where you started. Real problems are messier. Some constraints are equalities. Some variables can go negative. There is a fixed dictionary for all of it, and it fits on one card. A less than constraint gives a price that must stay positive. An equality frees its price to be any sign at all. A greater than flips the price negative. Coming the other way, an ordinary non-negative variable makes an inequality in the dual, a free variable makes an equation. If you remember one line, remember this one. Constraints and variables trade places. Everything else is just sign bookkeeping. Try it on this one. 2 constraints, so 2 prices. The less than keeps its price positive, the equality sets the second price free. Read down the columns for the requirements, use the right-hand sides as the new costs, and the dual writes itself. That single equality is the only reason why to escaped its sign. Here is the first payoff, and it costs almost nothing. Take any plan the workshop can actually run, and any price list the buyer could legally offer. Neither has to be optimal. The proof is one line. The buyer's rule says his prices already cover each product's profit, so swapping them in can only push the total up. Rearrange, and now the maker's rule bites. He never uses more than he has. So the middle quantity is at most the buyer's total bill. Profit under, bill over always. Watch what that buys you. This plan is feasible and earns 30. This price list is feasible and bills 42. Without solving anything, we now know the answer sits between them. Any offer you can guess is a certificate that the profit cannot beat it. That also means an unbounded primal forces the dual to have no feasible point at all. There is no ceiling left to name. Weak duality leaves a window. The maker pushes up from below, the buyer presses down from above. In many kinds of optimization, that window never fully shuts. For linear programs, it shuts completely. Both sides converge on one value here, 36, and there is no gap left at all. 2 units and 6 units earns 36. The prices 0, 3 halves and 1 bill exactly 36. Maximum profit equals the minimum honest value of the resources to the last decimal. And that hands you a test for optimality. If you ever find a plan and a price list that agree on a number, you can stop looking. Both of them are optimal, and you have just proved it. Equal values are only half the story. The two solutions themselves are wired to each other, pair by pair, and these two products say how. In plain language, if a resource is left over, it is worthless at the margin, so its price must be 0. And if a product is worth making at all, its price tag is exactly tight, it earns precisely what it consumes. Notice you can never have slack on both sides of a pair. One of the two is always 0. That rigidity is strong enough to reconstruct one solution from the other. Watch it work. At the maker's optimum, the first resource is not exhausted, 2 units are spare, so the first price collapses to 0 straight away. Both products are being made, so both requirements are equalities, not inequalities. 2 little equations, 2 unknowns left. Solve them and out come 1 and 3 halves. That is the entire dual solution, recovered from the primal alone, no second simplex run, no extra work. So what are these prices, physically? Each one is a shadow price, the extra profit you would earn if one more unit of that resource appeared on your shelf. Here is the practical shock. You never have to solve the dual. When you finish the simplex method on the maker's problem, the final objective row already contains it. The entries sitting under the slack columns are the dual variables. 0, 3 halves, 1. Exactly the numbers we just worked out by hand. Weight them by the supplies, and you get 36 again. The optimum quietly spreads the whole profit across the resources that were actually binding and gives nothing to the one with slack. Say a furniture maker finds labor priced at 0 and machine time at 4 rupees. Labor at 0 means there is idle labor already, hiring more changes nothing. Machine time at 4 is the real bottleneck, and it tells you your bidding limit. Pay anything under 4 an hour and you come out ahead. Pay more and you are buying at a loss. 6 things worth carrying away. Every program has a twin, and dualizing twice brings you home. You build it by transposing the coefficients and swapping the supplies with the profits. Any feasible offer caps the profit from above. At the optimum the cap is exact, the famous no-gap result. Slackness pairs each quantity with a partner and forces one of them to vanish. And the prices themselves are marginal values, waiting in the final tableau under the slack columns. 1 habit to build. Duality doubles as an error detector. If your so-called optimal profit ever climbs above a price list you know is legal, you have made a slip, go back and check the arithmetic. Next time we lean on those shadow prices properly, and ask how much the world can shift before today's answer stops being the right one. Work the practice problems before you watch on. Duality only really clicks once you have dualized a few by hand.